every restaurant owner would probably be happier with their marketing before they entered into it, knew that one size does not fit all, and it's not instant.
Meet Susan Rapaglia. She is the general manager at Coast Creative, a San Diego social media marketing agency. With nearly a decade of experience in restaurant social media marketing, she's helped local favorites like Rubicon Deli transform their digital presence. Susan's approach turns scrolls into reservations and likes into loyal customers.
So how long have you had Coast Creative?
We are about 8 years old now. Yes, time flies.
And what was the concept behind Coast Creative? Whose brainchild was it?
We grew out of kind of another hospitality-based marketing agency, but really what we do is fit into this gap we found where small businesses did not have a customized solution, and medium-sized businesses didn't fit the large retainers of other agencies. So we kind of found this sweet spot where restaurant groups, multi-location spots, even like mom and pop shops, they don't have a resource that feels customized and quality without that huge ticket price associated with it.
That comes from a bigger. Hello everyone, I am Oscar from Leadwolf, and I'm joined today with Susan from Coast Creative, and we're at the wonderful Honey Cafe in Bird Rock, California. Really great coffee. What did you get?
This is a strawberry latte. Never had it before.
All right, she's going to try it and give us a review for Honey.
It's delicious.
Yeah,
it's very unique though.
Yeah.
I like it.
So today we're going to be talking about how social media and strategy actually works for restaurants, which is a very interesting topic. We have, between you and I, we have some restaurant clients, and you focus on them for how many years now?
I would say about 8 years of a lot of focus on restaurant, hospitality, travel and tourism kind of in that, but 8 years of very much hands-on restaurants.
I see. How big are these restaurants? Are they chains, small mom and pops?
It's a range. So we have single location restaurants around San Diego. We have one of the most famous restaurants in St. Louis. They're famous for their toasted raviolis. And then we have franchise, I wouldn't call it a chain, but franchise like Board and Brew. So they're now at 31, 32 locations. And then we have a smaller restaurant group. So we've worked with plenty in the San Diego area that might have anywhere from 2 to 8, 10 locations.
When you're grabbing a client like a restaurant, what do you look for? Do you look for their sizes? Do you look for the reviews? How do you select a restaurant?
Yeah, I mean, most often we're looking at restaurants where we see there's a gap between the quality of the restaurant and the quality of their digital footprint. So
quality
when there's
of the restaurant, like food, or
when you look at a space, you visit a restaurant, it's great. The food's good, the service is good, and then what you see online might not match. We see that as an ideal client because there's so much opportunity to take the physical experience and bring it to the digital space.
I see. So it's the appeal is the experience in itself, like what it is. And
yeah, the restaurant, I mean, you want the physical experience when you're on site, when you're eating the food and interacting with the service to be good, because then what you take to the digital space is a true, authentic experience. Not everyone has to play the full Instagram game, in my opinion. If you have a space that is, or an audience, maybe it's highly transient, you're not in a neighborhood, you're in Gaslamp.
Right,
so there's
literally Gaslamp, Seaport Village.
You might need to use digital ads and platforms, third-party platforms like Yelp, OpenTable, TripAdvisor to do more of your promotion because your transient visitors might not be finding you on social. That's not meaning you ignore it completely, but the balance, the ratio of attention and spend is where we play. So it's not always 90% social, 10% everything else. Sometimes it might be reversed.
It's a balance. So what are the biggest misconceptions marketing managers or business owners or restaurateurs have? What's the biggest thing they expect from social? They use it and then they get disappointed.
I think for a lot right now is that all eggs in one basket should yield perfect results, where I believe it's a bit more of a comprehensive approach to digital marketing and marketing. So a lot of times, unfortunately now the way Instagram and social has changed, the idea of if I just post organic, my photos, things will grow. Well, we know now that, right, Instagram has kind of locked down organic growth. Facebook it has a pay to play element to it.
Right.
And if you just think that if I take a picture and I post it, or I take a reel and I post it, all my ills will be cured,
No.
probably not. It's a bit more comprehensive or overarching than that. So
I see. Yeah.
organic, paid, or paid social, and then you get off the social platforms. Are you on Yelp? Are you maintaining reviews and looking at your scores? Are you running any search campaigns for people who are in your area looking at that moment
Right.
for a restaurant?
Right. I think they also miss like other opportunities. So like Yelp, like next door, or Facebook groups. You know, it still continues.
Sometimes we ignore the phase that your restaurant's in. So a pre-opening phase to a grand opening phase to we're still under a year old to we're 5 years old. Those are very different restaurants, and those are very different tactics and opportunities. We're in the first 3 months of opening. We're hitting ads harder, content harder, influencers harder. We're running more awareness campaigns. Well, if you're 3 years old, you need to look at it a little different because you're not the new kid on the block. But what are you, and how do you get return customers, and how do you find new people? Your cost of acquisition becomes really, really high if you don't have any return customers. So how do we leverage that?
Right.
Maybe it's through, there's a lot of point of sale platforms, but I'm just going to use Toast. Use Toast. Are you using the email systems to reach out to people?
Many miss that. Yeah, and it's already free inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. Why are so many restaurant owners frustrated with their content?
I feel like that's probably a twofold answer, because one would be kind of what we were talking about with the fact that we can't just post content and say, I did it, now bring me my customers, because that's just not the world. That's not the social world we live in.
Do they usually just follow trends? Like, hey, they
I
look
would
at the
say
reels?
no. That's very time tedious. To be on top of trends, oftentimes it's last second, constantly thinking about, I have to get this photo, I'll film this. And so it's all very last minute, it's off the cuff, and that doesn't usually yield to a feed or a strategy that really reflects a company. It also doesn't typically leave much time for people to get on trends. Not every company should be on all trends, but you would be missing out if you didn't try to jump on some.
What's the trend you hate the most? What's the one that just cringes you?
I can't think of one. I don't understand how these things become trends. We had one, it was for Rubicon Deli, and it was the switch, we took one sandwich and another sandwich, and we slid, and so you had half of mine and half of yours, and I had half of yours and half of mine. That was it. It had the hook line, it had the trending audio, and it got 240,000 likes, 87,000 shares, $0 spent. It is mind-boggling how these things take off, but that's the idea of you have to be aware, you have to try. It's such these are very, very low-risk things for a business to try. As long as you're not being risky or politically incorrect, the downfall might be you just don't get a ton of likes. The upside is it creates this, you get on that explore page and
find something. Have you ever created content, or can you share with me a content you created, really excited, this is going to work, and it flopped?
You know what? I think sometimes the things that are just the most visually beautiful, you always think, oh, that's gonna be it. And that's not necessarily what Instagram or social users are always looking for.
Interesting.
And sometimes it is, but a lot of times you have to find the right moment where, okay, maybe the visual is beautiful and you're using this hook that is really catchy, or you're using an audio that is being spread, because the key is to get on that wave of Instagram. I always say, don't fight against the current of social, go with it, but in a way that makes sense for your business. Don't jump on every trend. But I would say usually the ones that are just so beautiful, you think that's going to be the one. So even if it didn't fail, it's probably not the one that takes off with those Instagram. And then TikTok is like 10x that. It's even the more the content that makes even less maybe sense does the even better.
When you say TikTok, it reminds me of TikTok dances.
Yes.
And like low res, big room and just dancing and that's it.
Yeah.
But are they targeting the right people? For me,
It depends.
in an advertising mind, is it always like, here's the audience, here's the message, here's the problem it's solving, and here's the solution, and then ROAS, return of ad spend. When I see a TikTok dance, like, how do you measure ROAS on that? How do you measure the likes? And then it comes also like on real estate, the curb appeal, right? The real estate of a property goes up with the curb appeal and everything, and it's just perception.
Yeah.
You know, how many followers do you have? How beautiful is your reel or your stories and all these things? Maybe it's just about perception. And there's a balance between advertising and social.
The ROI on a lot of these things, it is not as clear as maybe that's what frustrates business owners, is the ROI is not super clear. A lot of times on social, but a lot of times a part of our stance, depending on your business, is that just being there sometimes is enough. So if people are we have clients where the investment is not available to go all in on TikTok because your activity level on TikTok has to be really high to start seeing those gains. However, if you're a restaurant or a hotel, it is where a lot of people are talking about you. So you create a profile, you create maybe a low-level presence there. But when people post about you, you are getting now those tags and they can actually reference you. So sometimes it's just be there.
When you say be there and be active, what does it mean? Every Monday, every day?
So if you were to do a full TikTok strategy, we're talking 20 plus times a month you're posting, 25 times. So
almost every day.
Very short, very TikTok specific content.
Time consuming because you got to think about what am I doing.
A lot of people don't do it.
Right.
Or a lot of restaurants maybe don't have the ability to do that.
You've got a business to run, not to do silly dances with pizza.
And sometimes it's not a dance anymore as much as maybe a little skit or a moment or a funny lip sync, things like that. But again, even if you can't be active in posting, you can be present on the space. So let's say you randomly get some big influencer that goes into your restaurant and posts about you. Just does. You're at least there to capture the positive runoff from that and leverage that without you having to be the one posting. So sometimes it's just be there.
I see. In my mind is those social aspects are very awareness, very like here we are, here's where we are for people who don't know. Yeah. And on the other side of that customer journey is loyalty. Is you've been with us, you experience us, and then it's just nurturing that relationship. So it's on the end. Then most of it, the social is pushing information versus advertising. Like when I do Google, is solving a problem. They're searching on advertising is like coffee near me or best pizzeria near me or things like that, which is the differences between pushing and pulling.
Yeah. And then when it comes to ads, when we're talking about these high level, like large scale ads, we love to work with LeadWolf and make sure that what we're delivering to the client is this very comprehensive, like 360 degree package. But for the client, it's not an extra step. It's not an extra call they have to take. It feels like it's one cohesive package that's coming in or group that's coming in. So oftentimes if we get a client, it might be, if it is a restaurant client, we're really focused on a certain piece of their business. But once you get in there, you see, okay, if maybe it is a highly transient audience or they're looking to really focus on private events, because we know for businesses, private events can change a quarter, a month, a year. If they can increase even 5 to 10%, those are big ticket items. But oftentimes when you're talking about private events, you have to go at it at a different way. Even the paid social sometimes doesn't reach the right people,
right?
Because we need to be there when they search for it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Catering is another fantastic situation where it really oftentimes will fall outside of that social scope, I guess you can say, because when someone looks for catering, do they necessarily go to social for it? Probably not. Now, there is the piece of they search for it, and then we have everything set up so next time they go to their social, it's going to serve them. But that is a bigger picture, and that's usually where I see the opportunity, depending on type of business. It's catering and private events.
Yeah. I think another misconception is that they think it's a flat line. The demand is always like this, you know, and they fail to see their own patterns where, you know, not all the time they'll be searching. Like I put a $500 and I get nothing. Well, you're in the winter of your season.
Right.
Nobody's looking. You know, it's like imagine if it's weddings. Who's getting married in December?
Yeah.
Ideally, when we approach it in strategy, we try to find the patterns. We try to understand the audience and get we can onboard you right now and start creating content for the season that's coming. And that's where you're going to make it.
Yeah. Every restaurant owner would probably be happier with their marketing if they, before they entered into it, knew that one size does not fit all.
Okay.
And it's not instant. While those of us working in the marketing side of it, in both capacities, know that there is ramp and lead and this awareness moment, you don't always see those results to start to come in until, 6, 8, 12 weeks later. If we're posting and they're not seeing results in-house in the next 2 months, you have to be reflective of that and look to change, because restaurants rely on butts and seats, and we cannot ignore that fact. So when we start to post or we start to look at ad campaigns with catering or private events, we want to see an uptick. And so while I can't necessarily see the ROI of that one video, we can look at holistically
as a whole.
Yeah. Is your engagement up? Are people saving and sharing your content? Because that's a huge indicator. Is your website traffic up? Is your
right.
And then are your form leads up? So it's looking at it that way, but understanding just because we posted for a couple weeks, we might not be seeing those results yet. So I think you have to allow for that.
And you report this to them every week, every month?
So we do Friday touch bases, but we do monthly snapshots. So just really quick snapshots, key into just any large things, influencers, wins, that sort of thing, traffic, and then quarterly reports that are much more comprehensive. And we try to look year over year if we have the right data, because I always say December to January, if you just look month to month, you're going to be, as a restaurant, most likely in the red, because December is traditionally a stronger month. January
just dips.
Yeah,
there you go.
So we don't want to you got to compare apples to apples.
Right.
Influencers can start coming in, and those usually give you nice little quick wins, gives them nice boosts. But the overall effect is probably a little bit more long.
Tell me, explain to me, so I can understand like the culture of the influencer and how they have helped the restaurant that are your clients.
I'd say the biggest piece, the most simple way, is that when Instagram kind of locked down our organic reach abilities a couple years ago, so only a percentage of your followers see your post.
Unless you pay.
And you're not really getting outside of your current bucket of followers. Influencers who've spent time curating their own followers can come in and share their experience. And when they post, now you've just shown your restaurant, your space to a whole new audience. It's a very fast and effective way to get the word out.
I
There
know
are.
an influencer. Have you ever heard of Mr. Chula Vista?
I
I've heard of
I
Mr.
have.
He-
He's pretty good.
Yeah, he's pretty. He started. He started out.
He's worked with us. Yes.
Oh, he has.
Yes.
Okay.
We
I hear-
enlisted his services.
I hear he's quite pricey too. Yeah. So a person like that, what fascinates me is like, well, two things. One, I can't say on camera, but the other one is that he would go to a restaurant in Chula Vista. He would try the taco, try the food, and the next day the owner will call him back and say, "Thank you, I'm full."
Mhm.
That is pretty impressive
Yeah.
to see. You know,
Yeah.
that's something that, and of course it dies down, but
Right.
there's an immediate influx
Exactly.
of traffic.
So you get these waves, and whether it's the traffic or followership and attention on the digital space, so it kind of comes and goes, and that's why there's different tactics. For a new restaurant, you kind of you get a big push of influencers, and you really try to spread the word. It's another form of advertising, but it is a more engaging and authentic way
I
for
see.
for restaurants oftentimes.
I've read that that's where the interest is going, that you have to go micro influencers. The more niche is, for example, Mr. Chula Vista again is like he's specifically for Chula Vista.
Yes.
Because they try to get him up in Vista or out of San Diego places. Yeah.
And
It
for
doesn't work.
him, he's very authentic to that area, right? I don't know, born, but raised, lived. So if I could give key recommendation,
That's very generous.
yes, it is, you have to be able to stick with the strategy and the plan. So if you can post 5 times a week, consistently post 5 times a week.
Okay.
You can only post 2 times a week, just consistently post 2 times a week. The hardest part for restaurant owners without outside assistance is to keep the consistency and to stay true to the brand. So where you're not jumping around trying to be every trend, or you're not just, oh, I forgot to post for 2 weeks, I'm going to take this picture and post. Consistency is a huge piece of social media, and you don't ever want the feed to kind of go stagnant and in a lull, because then the work you have to do to refuel your account and get it shown again to your followers is a lot heavier than if you can just stay consistent. The hardest part is maintaining consistency and a brand and being on the platform the way people use it. So stories, we know people are heavy stories viewers, right? We just scroll through, so you need to be there.
Awesome. Well, if you want to learn more then or get it right, you got Coast Creative to do it. On the advertising side, what I see and I recommend is just the proper setup, because you can put $1,000 in, and that's the number one thing I hear from my clients is that it doesn't work, it just sucks my money. And the first thing I go in under the hood is like, yeah, the setup's not properly done. So one of the key ones is like geo-targeting. They put the entire United States and your shop is in San Diego.
Yeah.
Like there's one. Second, they might be selling something that like alcohol, beer, like, no, you're limited, by this target. The next one would be the keywords. And as Google is growing, especially with AI, they now have about 4 different types of setups. You got PMAX, Adgen, SERP, and I don't know why Google does it, but they push you to do like demand gen or PMAX initially because it's a new toy and people do it and it's not working, or sending you all these very broad, non-qualified leads.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. And the reason is because it works on your conversions. And Google says like a puppy bringing you a toy, but this puppy just brought you a bat. It's like, no, that's not what I want. But I brought you something, but that's not what I want. So you have to teach it first with search engine optimization, search engine results page with the search. It's just, these are my keywords, very broad. You learn for 2-3 weeks, and then you phrase match and say, this is exactly what I want. Those are quality leads, and then you do the PMAX. So those are the kind of things that I do recommend doing first.
Super easy.
Yes, of course. You need
It's just very basic.
you just need someone nerdy like me to do it. And I got you. The client wants to reach you, they're interested. How do they reach you at Coast?
Yeah, they can go to www.thecoastcreative.com or on social, it's The Coast Creative.
Thank you for watching. We're going to continue creating content like this. I hope you find it insightful and helpful. Leave your comments below, like, and subscribe to our channel. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you, Susan.